What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about 4 Grayscale trusts today. We're going to talk about BCHG, LTCN, GSOL, and then we're also going to talk about Mana. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, you guys, and let's get into it, okay? Here we are. This is at the request of XDead, by the way. Shout out to my man. 282 right now for Bitcoin Cash, BCHG. If we look at Bitcoin Cash, actually, BCH here, USD. On Coinbase, we did something that was rather unexpected yesterday, wasn't it? We actually moved up while Bitcoin was moving down. We actually closed the day up 0.7% to the upside while Bitcoin moved down 5% on a closing basis. It looks to me like we have a double bottom going on here with Bitcoin Cash. It doesn't have that same look on BCHG here, but again, this divergence in the price, it happens. When Bitcoin Cash moves down, BCHG moves down more. That's just how it is. So what happens whenever Bitcoin Cash starts to pump? What happens if this low is the real deal? We've got reversions down here. We've got what else do we have? This is on a daily basis. Let's go on the 1 hour time frame. 1 hour time frame, yeah. We've got invalidation levels here. If we break above about 327 bucks, 330 bucks, that's how we know that it's go time to the upside, that this low is the real deal. If we get above 330 bucks, BCHG by default, if Bitcoin Cash pumps, if it's dumping more than Bitcoin Cash, and I would assume that if Bitcoin Cash pumps 10%, BCHG would likely move up more than 10%, and I think that it will. The Grayscale people, man, you guys have been through a lot, to say the least, right? From April of 2024 until now, about a year later, quite literally a year later, it's just been a downtrend. It's like you had your own bear market throughout this bull market. It's nuts. It's crazy. I fully expect that once Bitcoin Cash gets moving, you will begin recovering at a very rapid rate, right? Nothing like, I mean, you will see this kind of growth at some point, but maybe not like that right off the bat, or maybe, I don't know, man. It looks like when you move up, it is at that pace. I don't know. Maybe you do move up at a rather rapid rate. There are ETFs coming into play with BCH coming into play, right? But it's not like a single BCH ETF. It's like a basket ETF in which BCH is included in. I'm still holding all my BCH. It's still a very significant part of my portfolio. It's never fun watching it drop like this, but man, this is why, again, not a financial advisor, but I think it's better to invest in the actual asset than it is to invest in the derivative, because the derivatives, while they can promote more gains, they can promote more losses too. You've been moving down since April of 2024, whereas Bitcoin Cash since April of 2024, I guess, has been more so consolidating, not so much of a pronounced downward move, right? Whenever Bitcoin Cash does get moving up, whenever it does start moving and seeing new all-time highs, I expect BCHG will recover here from a high, if I can get it, to the low here. Not just throughout this retracement, but past this retracement zone. You'll recover to prices probably rather immediately that take you up to about 10 to 1188. So being at 282 now, you will likely see a move up that takes you, that's about a 3.5x to about a 4x. I would expect that to be completely fair, and I think it's going to happen very fast. I think that Bitcoin Cash moves up more than that by the end of March. If not certainly early April, I would expect that Bitcoin Cash is well above $1,000. So if Bitcoin Cash sees that kind of maneuver, I would think BCHG sees more. This is what I expect to happen over the coming weeks, probably. But over the coming months, by the end of April, I would expect you're at new highs, right? New highs relative to this. If you're not at new highs relative to this by the end of April, at least something around here. But if you are above new highs and you stop somewhere, it would have to be at $43 or higher, right? And that's from here, we're talking about a 15x from the price of 282 all the way up to your minimum target, which this is a minimum target. Whether it happens next week, next month, 4 months from now, inevitably you will go here. It's going to happen, okay? And you will go beyond this. I fully believe still, I want you guys to understand, I fully believe that BCHG will see new all-time highs, even if it were connected, even if it were fixed to BCH's price growth, right? It might be better if it was, because then it'd stop moving down so much. But even from these prices, I fully expect BCHG to see new all-time highs, because I expect BCH to grow more than 20x, right? If BCH is going to grow more than 20x beyond, throughout this cycle, right? We're actually thinking BCH at this point, I don't know if 20K is an acceptable number. We still have to wait and see how we break out. I still have hope. If we break out of this, if it makes up for all this waiting that we've had, if you can see some serious gains, but we're going to have to see something that's more than 1700, right? That's been the call for a long time, with 17 to 1900 there, 16 to 1900, at least 1300. We're going to have to see something that blasts that out of the water if we want 20K to still be on the table. But I do assume that Bitcoin Cash at least will see something that's around, if not above, 10,000. The technical target would be 13K, and that's about a 45x from here. Now, assuming BCHG tops off before Bitcoin Cash, or it gets an ETF before, you never know, I would think that it at least has then 34x potential, which is at the golden ratio here. That's about $100 in price. Certainly, I am expecting that by the end of the cycle, BCHG reaches 172 to $222. That is still an acceptable target area. Absolutely. Even beyond that is acceptable targets. It just depends on how much BCH does once it breaks out of this overall consolidation phase. And it's easy right now because we don't have much time left in the cycle, right? The cycle is likely going to end somewhere in October or later, right? Just put like somewhere in this kind of box here. We don't have too much time left. It's important to wait, right? We don't know what we're dealing with yet. When we break out, if we're at $1,000, if we're at $1,300 by the end of this breakout, by the end of April, that's all we're at. Okay, $10,000 targets by the end of the cycle are probably $13,000 to $10,000 targets are probably where we're going to go. And if that's the case, BCHG, you'll probably stop around $100 to $200. All right, $100 to $200, somewhere in that range. If Bitcoin Cash sees a more dramatic move up by the end of April, if we see something that's greater than 2,000, greater than 3,000, anything more than that is, of course, welcome as well. If it's everything that we are hoping it is, which is a dramatic breakout of this multi-cycle consolidation phase, it puts Bitcoin Cash back on the map. If it's bigger than what I'm expecting it to be, 20K comes back on the table, and therefore targets that are much higher than $200 even come on the table for BCHG. We're talking about like targets that could be over a 100x from here, right? But even then, even still, your minimum target would at least be something of like a 34x by the end of the cycle. So I fully expect that's to happen. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but BCHG made the retracement, guys. It pulled all the way back. You've got a classic, and I didn't think it would do this, but classic 1, 2, 3 maneuver. That's a corrective phase right there. In an overall move up here, it seems to me like this move is done 1, 2, 3, and you will continue on past this, right? You will likely see something that's even of a kind of similar magnitude to this in overall like low to high aspect. Maybe not in an overall time perspective. So that's December 22. Maybe in a time perspective, actually. What is that? Let's see. Maybe it will be in a time perspective. 66 weeks from here. No, that takes too much time. I thought it was going to be shorter anyways, but something that would be, maybe half this time, similar in price growth overall, but maybe a little bit less in growth too, right? If we take this low to high here, what does that do? That puts you maybe more growth in less time. Yeah, that makes sense. End of cycle stuff, you can see it. But one way or another, guys, I'm expecting something rather tenacious, just like this move was, week after week after week, or maybe not week after week. There were months where we did consolidate here, don't get me wrong, but it feels like it was week after week after week. I do feel like this move is coming now. I don't feel like it. I'm very, very confident that it's coming in now, but been confident at other places before, and ultimately we got shafted still. So this is why, again, it's good to invest in derivatives, but also maybe not the best thing to invest in derivatives. Derivatives can grow up more than the underlying asset does, but the underlying asset always holds up better than the derivatives do. And when it comes to investing, I think risk management is a big thing. So trying to not focus on just the gains, but the risk as well, the downside, is something that's very important. You are finding support here at prior areas of resistance, prior areas of support. This looks like a ginormous cup and handle pattern. You're going to break out. I have no doubt Bitcoin Cash, BCHG is going to see new all-time highs. Let's move on. LTCN here. Okay, LTCN right there. Same kind of pattern, actually. Nice cup and handle pattern. I feel like I don't have to talk as much because, and actually Litecoin looks better than Bitcoin Cash does. This is one assumption I made, and I thought that Litecoin might outperform Bitcoin Cash for the rest of the cycle when I said that like months ago. I still think BCH will grow more overall percentage-wise, but maybe from here on out we'll see some robust movements, more robust than Bitcoin Cash even for Litecoin. Litecoin's doing very well on a monthly basis. You pulled all the way back up. You're one of the few coins this in the space that looks like it has a chance of closing this month green. 1 day, 20 hours left, right? You're up, let's see, yesterday you moved up 8% while Bitcoin was down 5%. That's a good look, man. LTCN, what did you do in that time? You moved up only 4%. I wouldn't be too worried about it, right? It's okay. I think LTC probably moved up more too after LTCN closed its day, so I would expect LTCN does move up from here. Daily time frame looks bullish. Double bottom enacted. Weekly time frame also bullish, right? Finding support at prior areas of support on your RSI here, here, there, wherever, even all the way back here. Cup and handle activated. Let's talk about the targets that you're going to see by the end of March, by the end of April, and then, of course, by the end of the cycle. From a high to a low, you're at 1117 now. I expect Litecoin is going to move up all the way up above 300. I personally do, but let's just say it makes a minimum move to about 280. That is the minimum move. And I think it moves up more than that personally. But 280, 132%. Well, if Litecoin does that, LTCN will likely do something more than that. So LTCN 180%, that would put you about here at about wait, no, sorry, not 180%. It was $100 or $280. 130%, my bad. 130% move puts you right there at about the golden ratio. If you see something beyond that, which I think you would, you'd go to the 786, 886, which would be anything from 44 to 36 bucks by the end of this move. That's if Litecoin stops at 283. I have a strong suspicion Litecoin's going to move all the way up to prices above $400, which turns the 235% move into something that is, basically right around here at the 786, 886. If LTCN grows more than Litecoin, and I think it will, then maybe it's time to consider 7x moves, maybe even 8x moves on the table. LTCN could see a 10x. You don't know, man. It really, really could. There's no ETF, and in fact, I'm actually curious. Grok, help me out here. What's the scoop with the LTC ETF proposals? Is that right? Proposals, yeah. What's the scoop, Grok? Give it to me, baby. The buzz around Litecoin ETF proposals is heating up as of February 26th. Several firms are in the race to launch the first Litecoin-focused exchange-traded fund. That's what ETF stands for. After Bitcoin and Ethereum. To get this kind of mainstream investment vehicle, here's the rundown. Canary Capital kicked things off. Yes, they did. Yes, they did, absolutely. They announced it in January 25th. NASDAQ, proposing, yes. Filing on January 16th, yes. Pegging a 90% chance. 90, whoa. Safart are bullish, pegging a 90% chance of approval by late 2025. Late 2025. Okay, so we do have an ETF with a 90% chance of approval. I want you guys to know, do you know that the first dozen times that Bitcoin had its ETF denied, it had a 90% chance of getting approved every single time? Do you know that? Are you aware of that, right? I'm aware we had a 90% chance of getting approved on this last one too, but they said that. Everybody said that for years beforehand, right? So I don't care if it says 90%. That actually makes me think it's less likely to happen. But what I am focusing on is late 2025. What's late 2025? I don't know. Is it July? That's in the second half. I guess that's late. Is it Q4? That makes the most sense to me. Late Q3, that makes sense to me. But who knows what late is? Late 2025, I'm assuming will be toward the end of the cycle, which means by the end of this next move, you're not going to have an LTCN, or LTC is not going to be an ETF. So, genuinely, if Litecoin does what I think it's going to do, it's completely possible, you guys, LTCN could be at 90 bucks or more soon, very, very soon. And all the pain, all the hardship that took you basically 10 months to suffer through, it's going to be wiped away in 2 months or less. That's what I'm assuming. And if not all of it, most of it, right? I would expect at least something that's of about a 230% growth, if not 375% growth, 380% growth, something like that. If not more likely, something that is at new highs relative to this cycle. I think Litecoin, LTCN, to me, looks more likely to see new relative highs this cycle than BCHG does even in the same amount of time. But by the end of the cycle, of course they will, but just not by the end of March, beginning of April, midway point of April, end of April, whenever it is that we top off on this next phase here. But that also is dependent. BCHG could outperform LTCN. It just depends on how much BCH pops, right? We don't know yet, so I'm remaining conservative, let's just say the least. $89.50, that's nice. It's right below this low here. Prior areas of resistance could be support, or support could be resistance. Right there, resistance, support, could be resistance. I don't know, man. LTCN up to about 100 bucks. I think that's where you're going to go. End of cycle, though, I don't know. End of cycle is a bit different. End of cycle, we're too far away. We don't know. I would expect that Litecoin is at least above $2,000, something around here. So that's a 1,700% growth. With that in mind, I would think that LTCN is at least around its all-time highs. It doesn't have to go to new all-time highs, but that's a 25x to a 30-something x, right? If it does see new all-time highs, my expectation would be that you're anywhere from about a 48x to potentially, at the most, a 90x from here, 95x. I do think you could see $1,000 in LTCN by the end of the cycle. I do think that that's possible still. $1,000.46, right? $1,046 right there. You could go higher. It's possible too. But again, end of cycle stuff. LTC ETF comes about, you're likely going to more pull back to your NAV price than you are going to grow if the ETF comes out. Again, I don't think that it will, but in fact, an ETF getting rejected, denied, that actually might cause this thing to just rip through the roof. I don't know. But again, it's tethered to Litecoin to some degree, so if the ETF gets denied, that'll cause a sell event in Litecoin. Even though LTCN, that'd be bullish for LTCN, it might trigger a sell event for LTCN too because it's tied to Litecoin. Who knows? We'll figure that out in months from now. But what I am expecting is that by the end of the cycle, you absolutely will return to your all-time high areas and probably through there. I like $1,000, I like 556, and I like everything in between as possible targets. Okay, let's move on from there and talk about GSOL real quick. I'm going to try to move on with these. I'm spending too much time. I'm having fun, but it's been a second, since I've talked about these, so I'm going a little bit slower. GSOL, we told you guys, right? We told you all the way back. I say we, it's just me and my 8 personalities, right? I was telling you guys that I thought we would see prices that are dramatically lower for GSOL, right? We saw a split here. I believe at that time the price would have been like $9, $11, but with the split, I think the price came up. Does that make sense? Wouldn't the price go down? Maybe it was like $90, and then it split. That's what it was. I forget what the exact price was back here, but here we are at a lower low. Weekly basis, you've got higher lows. I wouldn't call it bullish divergence, but sure, it looks good enough, right? High to low here. Is Solana an ETF yet? Does Solana have an ETF? I don't think it does. I say, can you do that for Sol too? Pretty please. I like to be polite. Me and Grok have a good relationship. Let's see here. Assume you're asking me to provide a similar. Yes. I like how he starts that too. He's like, this is what I'm assuming, so this is why I'm going to say it. I like that, right? So I can tell where it went wrong, if not. Push for Solana ETFs in the U.S. is in full swing with multiple heavy hitters filing for proposals bring this high-speed blockchains token to traditional markets. Van Eck and 21 Shares got the ball rolling back in June of 2024, so a lot further along than the LTC filing, right? What's your summary, buddy? Let's get to it. Why the hype? Let's see. It did lately, still sentiment. Sol could hit brokerage accounts by late 2025 as well. Okay, cool. Hey, Solana, GSOL might not see the ETF come out until late 2025, but it's looking more likely for Solana than it is for LTC, at least in my opinion. And in which case, make no mistake, you've returned to your NAV price. Like if you're not at your NAV price, you got to be very close to it right now. And it would make sense to me that if we're basing it off of that, Solana, GSOL probably does not. It probably doesn't see this premium again, right? It probably doesn't see like a very large premium again. I would assume that it tracks Solana is what it's going to do. It's going to track Solana very well. So here it's not going to grow more than Solana. I think Solana by the end of the cycle can and will be above $1,000, maybe at $22,000 or $2,200, not $22,000. Sorry, that's a 15x, 16x, and a 8x minimum. It's a lot smaller numbers, but it is what it is. Solana already grew a lot, right? 8x minimum would, on the bright side, guess what, guys? Takes you to new all-time highs. All the GSOL people who are in pain, if you're at the losses, first and foremost, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but hopefully you sold back here and you gave it a month before you bought back in. That way you could claim the losses, right? That's always good to claim losses. You can make, there's a silver lining out of everything. You don't want to see dumps, but man, it helps you to not have to pay taxes, right? You have to pay taxes legally, of course, right? But this helps you not pay them legally. Okay, so nice to see that Solana has a minimum expectation of an 8x in which you would at least return back to the areas that you forfeited up here. At a maximum, genuine maximum, I think a 16x should be considered, and the same thing for GSOL here. So that'd be a $240 maximum for GSOL. And I can see that happening, right? High to low here, I'm sure that interacts with the fib. Yeah, right between the 1272 and the 1414. Heaven forbid I'm wrong and you go a little bit higher or a little bit lower. You never know. It could be somewhere in between any and all of these areas. I I think that you will go at least to $1,000 though. I'm very confident in at least an 8x from here, but I would think Solana has a chance to see $2,200 and even beyond there, but probably not too far beyond there. So GSOL, I would think the highest you go to is 276 by the end of the cycle. However, and again, I think that relatively speaking, you are going to pump pretty fast, right? If you look at Solana, it's held up well, I think, especially versus Bitcoin. It did dump a little bit yesterday, but it closed like 6%. Okay, so it closed a little bit lower than Bitcoin, but that's okay. That's okay. I expect GSOL to move up over the coming days, over the coming weeks. By the end of March, by the end of April, I would think you're at anywhere from like $52 to $91. Oh, probably not up that high. I'm just kidding. Probably around $52 to $60. That's what I'm thinking for GSOL. Let's move on and finish this up with Mana, M-A-N-A. Mana here, finding its lows of the week as well. I think, what did Mana do? Mana didn't drop that much. M-A-N-A here. Yeah, it's got a double bottom too. It had a green day yesterday. Double bottom. Looks like it's about to rip. We're about to see Mana fly, you guys, all the way up, all the way back up to the 382. And it doesn't stop there. It probably does just rip right up to the golden ratio, okay? That's going to be about a 467% move. I would expect, if that's going to happen by the end of March, by the end of April, I would expect the same thing to happen here, at least, which would take you up to about $51. Let's see if we can make sense out of that. $50, something like that. It's a little bit bigger, something like that there. High to low. This is if you tracked Mana, okay? Likely, if Mana moves up 470% by the end of April, which I think it will, Mana on Grayscale Trust would likely move up more and probably double that. So what's double that? That's about here. That's to new all-time highs. Probably, I think in the short term, Mana, Grayscale Trust will perform better. It'll probably, because Mana doesn't have an ETF scare, right? LTC does, GSOL does, but that's later in the year. There's no mention of Mana, so I don't think there's any worry with that. You can absolutely see some phenomenal premiums here. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but that doesn't mean put all your money into this shit, right? If you're going to put all your money into anything, put it into the underlying asset, not the derivative, okay? Derivatives are meant for small portions of money, not your life savings most of the time, unless you know what you're doing or if you get into very key areas, right? Some people, shout out to Ethan, by the way, he killed it, man. He got in, even with this tragic trend of events that have happened for basically the last year with all the Grayscale trusts, or at least most of them. He got in. He was talking about it well before then, guys. Like maybe not Mana. I don't know if you saw my Mana, but BCHG and LTCN. Anybody and everybody that's been following him before the pumps, even with these dumps that you've suffered through, you're still in the green. So again, unless you get in early, unless you know what you're doing, like some people, it's probably not a good idea to put like serious money into derivatives. You should put your serious money into the real things, not the derivatives of the real things, right? But if you know what you're doing, if you're confident, if you've had experience in the markets or in the crypto markets at least, that's up to you. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, of course. Inevitably, I do think Mana will see targets at about $130. Mana Grayscale Trust will see targets at about $139, potentially even up to $300. Man, that actually seems small. I think Mana Grayscale Trust will see it over 100x. I bet you'll see $667 to $1,800 by the end of the cycle. But just by the end of March, February, or March, April, I would think that you are around $50, if not $140, somewhere in that range. Likely somewhere that's just at your all-time highs or just above. That's what I'm expecting. So that's all of them. I've got nothing else to say. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Ta-ta for now. Bye.